This video is sponsored by Aftershoot. Check the link in the description below or scan the QR at any time for more info. Anybody that's a photographer knows that for the most part, you spend a lot of time going out and photographing things, and someone also like myself that likes to play with a lot of different cameras and a lot of different camera systems. That can mean a lot of time behind a computer. So today we're going to talk about one of the key parts to my workflow, something I've been using for the last couple of years before they sponsored anything of mine. And for someone like me, while it does save me a ton of time in some areas, it actually just leaves me more space to be more artistic. And it simply just minimizes the biggest annoyances of my editing workflow. So right off the bat, there's going to be a little trigger warning for some people. And I want to be clear about my distinctions for AI. It is an AI editing software. It helps with AI culling and retouching, all sorts of stuff, but it's in a way that's non-generative. It's also doing everything on device so that if you have clients with privacy issues, things like that, it's not going to be sharing that data. And unlike a lot of other things, even including Adobe, like you don't need to have an internet connection to use it. So I could upload an entire wedding on a plane and have it run on my device without it connecting to the internet and accessing other profiles and things like that. So unlike some of the other stuff that I do have issues with, this is a use of AI that's more like machine learning in the same way that this Sony a7R5 has AI in it. It's a non-generative way of going about and just doing things and helping me speed up my workflow in a way that is not destructive to the artistic process. And again, in my opinion, it's something that actually just aids in my artistic process. And I think the other thing to know about this is it is a tool to help. So the first thing that it does is when you import things, you can have it help you cull. And I've been using programs like this for years, and I've been using Aftershoot for a few years now. And you can do it one of two ways. You can go in and have it just fully AI cull. And what's cool is they've just dropped a new update, which really helps for some of the things that have been more difficult in my workflow. And one of those being a feature called True Duplicate, and then another one called Intentional Composition Variance. So when it goes through the culling process, it will kind of see if you did a series of photos and figure out like, okay, is this something that you meant to do? Did you mean to have some variance there, or are you just going to choose one of them? Depending on how your culling settings are set up, it can actually see that, figure that out for you. And also when you go into the culling process in the first place, you actually select what kind of event it is. And based off of that information, it'll know, sometimes during a wedding, people's eyes are going to be closed, and that's going to be because they're kissing or having an emotional moment or something like that. And obviously, unlike, let's say, school portraits or headshots, if you have those different profiles set up, it's going to know and have a better idea of why those people's eyes might be closed instead of just getting rid of those completely. So the two sections here are the AI automated. So you can just have it go through and completely cull your photos for you if you would like. Or you can do the AI assisted culling, which goes through and kind of can pre-select some things, but it can also pre-flag the things like maybe there's, blurry images or photos with people with their eyes closed. And either way, you can go back and review those yourself to figure out is this what you were actually looking for or not. It also has multiple different settings for how kind of like aggressive you want it to cull. And oftentimes I leave it on the kind of standard default one, which then ends up giving me more photos than I end up wanting, but it culls out everything that I don't want. And then I can end up going back and kind of doing a final cull while I'm editing. It's also super fast. So the wedding that I'm showing here was a wedding that I did not use Aftershoot in. And part of it is going to be figuring out like how close is this getting to how I ended up editing this whole wedding myself. But this is a multi-day event in Iceland, and I had like 5,000 photos to go through. And in the time it took me to cull these photos in my own old process, I was able to cull, edit, and retouch these images in Aftershoot. Now the editing process, you can go about it a few different ways. The way I go about it, and I think that it's a good way if you do feel confident in your style, is you actually upload your own edits to Aftershoot. So it learns what adjustments you normally make in a specific situation, and then learns how to apply those to future edits. And if you aren't as confident, they have a bunch of different looks that you can go in and check out. Even my friends from Maston Labs, you can check out their profiles, and a bunch of other really great artists on there as well. And some of the big things that have been updated in this last update are white balance consistency in the same location. And if you're someone that shoots a little bit wider with the intention of cropping later, it also has a new automated cropping mode that is a little bit more aggressive. I think it's even what it calls it, which for someone like me that really tries to nail things as tightly as possible in camera is probably not something that I would be doing, but it could be interesting to see another way that your photo could be kind of interpreted in that way. One of the things I always turn on in the editing process though is straightening. I don't know why, but I have the level set up on every single camera I own that has that feature, and I can just never get a level photo. And if for nothing else, having an AI go in there and just straighten my photos for me would be worth it on its own. And I think that's the whole point of this. Like, you can go about this one of two ways. You can go about this in a way, and a lot of people that are doing, you know, like headshots for like schools or maybe sports teams or something like that. It's an easy way that you can legitimately just toss everything into this and automate the entire process and deliver the files. Or for someone like me, this is a way that it can go in and do all the menial tasks. So it's adjusting white balance, contrast, exposure, all of those things, and setting my preset or my look in general. And all these things are just the tedious things that I am completely fine with something else going in and doing. And then I can go in if I want to change something, I can. And it just allows me to do more of the creative edits, like going in and doing a little bit more masking work or photoshopping things out like exit signs or outlets or things that might be distracting to the image. Now, one of the reasons you might want to check this out, regardless if you even do any of the paid options as far as like culling or retouching or editing, one of the biggest updates here is that Aftershoot just now has its own RAW processor. And that is free regardless of if you are doing any paid plan or not. So I would definitely encourage anybody to check this thing out and just see how the RAW processor works for you. And it's definitely a really great free alternative if you're trying to get off of some of these other subscription models. I'll also add that once Aftershoot goes in and edits all your photos, you can either edit them fully in Aftershoot with their new RAW processor, or you can take that and use your existing tools in Lightroom and just export all those photos into a Lightroom catalog, and they will carry all those edits into your regular editing program. So if you have your normal workflows in something like Lightroom, like I do, it's a really easy import into that. Now, one of the things I don't actually do a ton of is retouching, but I really like how they have it implemented in here because it's something I can batch edit across a variety of photos. And it's never something I want people to notice, but it's something I want to use in a really subtle way. And so what's nice is I can go and just batch edit retouching across the entire set of images and do just really small things like just minor teeth whitening, minor skin retouching. And the biggest thing, even for someone like me with some longer hair, is the hair flyaways section here. I find that being able to just go in and clean that stuff up is incredibly useful. I'm the type of more like natural light leaning photographer. I try to just find good pockets of good light and work around that for the most part. And oftentimes that means shooting in a lot of backlight, which then means a lot of the kind of flyaways and stuff like that are showing up a lot more. And it's something that is just an absolute pain to go and edit myself. But using this, it's something that I almost never put any slider at 100%, but moving it to maybe like 50% and just minimizing the look of that is just super helpful. And the fact that I can just batch this through a giant section of images, or maybe just the formal portraits or things like that, can be really, really useful. For anyone that also is looking for more of like an all-in-one service, maybe you don't want a bunch of different subscriptions, they also have a gallery setup where you can just export straight from here. I think I mentioned before that I use PicTime, and I will continue to use them because I've just used them for so long. But if you're someone that just wants one subscription and one really all-encompassing workflow, I think it can make a lot of sense. So if you're like me and you take a lot of images, you're doing paid work, I think something like this makes a ton of sense. Whether you want to use it as like a fully autonomous editor for you, I mean, I do know people that do that, or you want to use it as an editor that's going in and doing most of kind of like the menial tasks for you, and then it allows you to kind of free up to do more of the artistic stuff. That's kind of how I use it. And I think that probably a lot of people who are watching this channel would benefit from that a lot. Check out the link in the description down below, or obviously you can scan or even screenshot the QR code here. And if for nothing else, just try it out for the free RAW processor. I think it's legitimately a great tool, and the fact that it's free is fantastic. So another massive thank you to Aftershoot for sponsoring this video and being a great supporter of the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and you can check out one of these videos that YouTube wants you to check out here, and I will see you in one of those.